News about the coronavirus pandemic, well, it's taken a bit of a back seat, but this fall surge, it is getting worse. So yesterday, the U.S. saw more than 120,000 new cases. That smashed the previous day's record of more than 100,000 new cases. Hospitalizations are also up, with at least 52,000 people currently in the hospital being treated for the disease. So check out this map. All across the country, hospitalizations on the rise with very few exceptions. Experts are saying that if nothing is done now, this is only going to get worse. So if Joe Biden ends up winning the election, what do you think he's going to do differently? I want to ask the DBL Nation. I also want to ask our panel, starting with you, Erica, what do you think he's going to do differently?
Well, I mean, you can't know for sure, but I would imagine that you'd have to triage the situation and do what is most critical first. And what's most critical in this time would be attacking COVID-19. I would assume that a national mask mandate would be enacted, and I would also assume that there would be some mass shutdowns, much like we've seen in other countries.
I completely agree. I was going to say the national mask mandate is a day one thing, right? Make it like a seatbelt. Make it like it's a normalized thing. Make it like, remember when we used to smoke in restaurants, you made that a national issue and it went away eventually. So make that day one. Also on day one, have a registry for tracing. We're not tracing anywhere near enough. I got to give you guys this crazy stat. Okay, ready? Sam, new COVID-19 cases today, United States, 120,048. Japan, 103,838. That's over the entire pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's shocking.
Tori, I get what you're saying, but it's not going to happen.
Why?
It's not because people aren't going to.
But it worked with.
You don't think someone will abide if they're going to get fined?
Here's when people started wearing masks. And I was here ground zero because remember, I was driving to LA, so I saw real America in between when I stopped. People were not wearing masks when I first left. Leaving Colorado, there's like a little play city like 40 minutes from here. The pool was packed 5 people deep. When I started to see the change is when when Walmart put a mandate in, and what's the other big one? Costco, and where else do people go? Yeah, those kind of places.
Target has one
Target,
as well.
that's
You sound so far removed.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think of the 3 big ones.
No, you're right.
Once those companies put that in place,
right, it's normalized.
People go there so religiously that's what changed them. Now what the government said, so I think it's going to be the bars getting hit no different than if they showed like a pay-per-view fight and they didn't have a license for it, where they would get sued, they would get a fine. If bars start getting fined, they're going to start making their.
But they need incentive to do so, and that comes from a leader. That comes from DC.
That comes from a bill from the city saying you owe us 15 grand. That's incentive.
Well, then there needs to be another stimulus check because we're going to see a lot of restaurants affected. We're going to see unemployment being on the rise. So I really hope that Congress can get their act together and make sure that
finding the place people go. And I don't want to see anybody get fined, but that's the only way. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not going to come from the top.